Okay, here we are on Thursday, social studies. This will be the last social studies that we do out of ReadWorks because we should be going to the textbook. Um, the textbook will be next Monday, so make sure you have it by Monday. Today we're going to be talking about voting because we are in an election year this year, and there was actually an Arizona primary that happened yesterday. So there's a lot of voting happening this year, and I just wanted us to look at the history and the process of voting. All right. So once again, listen to it, read it as you go. It talks about uh, the requirements to vote as an American citizen, the different amendments um, that were put into action to basically guarantee the right to vote for all American citizens, excluding a few, which I think felons would be one of those. But mostly everybody has the right to vote once they get to the voting age. So, again, you know all of the vocabularies, you know everything that goes with that, and just read up on that. Go to the question set. Let me know that you understand all of the things that went into bringing the right to vote to so many people that didn't have it all throughout American history. Then we're going to go to another very interesting thing because these things kind of come together. Civil rights, the civil rights activism of the 60s, 50s, and 60s, even the 70s, but we're going to be concentrating on the 50s and 60s here. Jackie Robinson was the first African American uh, who played baseball, Major League Baseball, and he was very, very active for the cause of civil rights. And he wrote a letter to the president, who was Dwight D. Eisenhower at the time. So this would have been 1957. He wrote a letter because the president had said um, to the summit meeting of African American leaders yesterday that they should have patience um, for their rights. They should be patient to get the same rights that other Americans have. And Jackie Robinson did not agree with that and said, we have been patient. Now we need our rights. And so I want you to read this letter to a president. And then I want you to consider, what all goes into writing persuasive letter. First of all, is it respectful? Is it argumentative? Is he name calling? Is he telling the president he doesn't know? He doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. Is he being rude, or is he trying to change the president's mind by using a rhetorical device that's basically being a respectful but disagreeing, respectfully disagreeing? Okay, it's something that we should really have a lot of models of these days, and Jackie Robinson does what I think is a very good job respectfully disagreeing. He even um, basically tells here in the letter why he disagrees so vehemently against Dwight D. Eisenhower, but yet still ends it with respectfully yours, Jackie Robinson. When you get done reading the letter from Jackie Robinson, you're going to read another letter from Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, he wrote a letter from the Birmingham jail, and I am going to give you a brief history lesson on why Dr. Martin Luther King was in the Birmingham jail. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested and sent to jail because he and others were protesting the treatment of blacks in Birmingham, Alabama. The court had ordered that King could not hold protests in Birmingham. Birmingham in 1963 was a hard place for blacks to live in. Everything was segregated from businesses to churches to libraries. Blacks faced constant discrimination and the constant threat of violence. What is segregation? So, they were fighting segregation. Oops. To segregate is to separate from others. So what this meant in Montgomery is that blacks could only sit in certain places in restaurants, but they could not go into certain businesses, they could not use public restrooms that were for whites only. While King was in jail, he wrote a letter to the newspaper explaining why he had broken the law. I am here because injustice is here, he wrote. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Because black people had suffered injustice for so long, King believed they should not have to wait any longer for change. King believed nonviolence was essential for him as a man of God. He also believed that violence would ruin the chances for change. King and others were willing to go to jail for the cause. So, going back to a letter from a Birmingham jail, he's writing to the newspaper who's asking, why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, etc.? Isn't negotiation a better path? So people were telling him, why are you protesting so much? It's just making people angry. Why don't you just sit down with people and try to get a compromise on some of these things? And Dr. Martin Luther King said it's not that we can't make a compromise. What's happening is so unjust that the only way to really show how unjust it is to do nonviolent protest. He explains it a lot better than I do. So definitely read this. Check out, there's a lot of vocabulary words. Martin Luther King had an amazing vocabulary and an amazing way with words. And go ahead and read it and answer the question set so I know that you comprehended it. And I hope you get a lot out of it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. All right.